All Stacy the Blackfeather Intuitive, and welcome to Divinely Decked Tarot and Oracle Reviews done Stacy style. And today we are continuing with my little Phoenix Phase mini-series, decks that help you to transform. And this is the Phoenix Growing Phase. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that actually means. And then I'm going to share with you some decks that kind of help you when you find yourself in this particular Phoenix phase. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the Phoenix growing phase is associated with the Hanged Man or the Hanged One in the Tarot. And the Phoenix growing phase I like to describe as the womb. You know, the Phoenix burning, you just, spontaneously combusted, you turned into a pile of ash. And now you are, as the Phoenix growing, you're in the ash. You are not who you used to be. You don't have a vision, really, of who you're becoming. You're kind of in this messy middle. There's a lot of grief associated with this phase. There's a lot of not knowing. There's a lot of reflection that occurs. But there's also, the whole point of it is to be. It's to receive. You know, we're human beings, but we don't often just be. We're always in kind of a do mode. And after a Phoenix burning, you need some time to rest up, to recharge, to reflect and understand, what was the purpose of this past iteration of me? What was the purpose of this burning? Sometimes it's a spontaneous release. Sometimes it's an intentional release. I'm done with this chapter of my life. Stick a fork in me. And whether it's chosen or something that you feel kind of thrown into, it's important to evaluate, because you are learning different lessons from it. And the Hanged One in the Tarot is the perfect depiction of this, because, the Hanged One is that pause and breathe. It's the complete radical surrender, radical acceptance. It is what it is. There's nothing more that I can do right now. I need to wait for a sign from the universe. I need to wait for, the paperwork from Bob in accounting before I can move forward with the next aspect of my project. Whatever it happens to be, that the situation and the circumstance, you're sitting in limbo. And limbo can be really uncomfortable. And I like to say, speaking as an A-type, but I don't even know that you need to be A-type to understand that the Phoenix growing phase often is one of the most uncomfortable phases, because there is that level of not knowing. And it's an important part of the transformational experience and journey that we take, because there is reflection that is important. There's also a rest up and a recharge that needs to happen before you can move on, into the next phase and on to other things. So the Hanged Man is really important when we're talking about that Phoenix growing energy. So I've chosen today 3 different card decks to talk about it and to explore, I want to say, 3 different areas of focus when we're talking about the Phoenix growing. And the reason, the first card that I chose here, deck that I chose here, is the World of Visions Tarot by Taroteka. And the reason why I chose it is because when you are in a Phoenix growing phase, you're resting up, you're recovering, there may be some grief, you're facing the loss of what previously was, and you're not really focused on what's to come. You're just in the space of trying to acclimate, trying to understand what it all means and why it's happening. You don't have vision. And so the World of Visions deck is perfect for that, because it's going to inspire a little more vision and inspire maybe even a little more hope into what is to come for you. So let's kind of just take a peek here. First of all, this is a beautiful card deck, by the way. Taroteka does it right. It's that beautiful rose petal finish. It's got a really nice, solid quality to the cards. They shuffle up like butter. It's not really, it's on that, that beautiful black cardstock. So it's not really gilded, but it almost feels gilded because it's such that, that dark black matte finish. And I love it. You can see that the cards are bordered, but the border is designed in such a way that it feels like it's part of the image. So it's very modern in its approach. And how interesting that we pull the 8 of Cups, as the first card when we're talking about this Phoenix growing phase, because the 8 of Cups is really about letting go. walking away, walking towards something new, away from the old, onto a new adventure. And the new adventure is ruled by the moon, the mystery, the unknown. Things aren't always what they seem, but you're willing to take the risk. You're willing to move ahead because it's time. These cups have nothing left to offer you. You can try and dive into the waters to rescue them, to save them, to try and use them, but it's pretty freaking cold, and you might die trying. So better to just move forward into the unknown and to deal with it one step at a time than it is to try and recoup or recover what was lost. Because what is lost, and I put that in air quotes, it's more that it's an experience that you've already had. And I feel like this deck really helps us when we are in that space to understand that it's not a loss. It's more of a rite of passage. I'm moving forward. Queen of Cups here, she's standing on this, sort of beach area, ocean desert on the shore. We have, almost like the Parthenon, pillars behind her here, which interestingly enough, the pillars kind of makes us think a little bit about the High Priestess, which is connected to the moon energy and connected to the intuition. Queen of Cups, she's standing in front of all of that. That is all behind her. And she's feeling confident in her feelings and what she has to offer. This deck also really has a futuristic energy to it. And I think that's really good when you are going through, here's another hanged one, when you are going through a phoenix growing phase, because again, you have no vision. And it may be a while you're in that energy of having no vision. So going to a card deck that is a little more fantastical, I want to say it's not like it implants ideas into your head or into your subconscious that are, how do I put it, like uber realistic so that you can, cling to something. Because sometimes when we're in this kind of energy, in this kind of phase, we tend to cling to anything that feels somewhat familiar. This is a deck that, not to say that these things aren't relatable, but it's very fantastical. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't know that I would ever be in a situation where I'm, walking in the desert in a firestorm, holding, having a ram's horn over my head and, ram's skull on my head and carrying all these wands, right? So it's, I want to say, less relatable and more fantastical, which I think helps when we are in that phoenix growing phase. Pause and breathe. There is no specific vision, so let's play around with what is possible. And let's do it in such a way that we're not attaching ourselves to any kind of emotional outcome. Because the phoenix growing, one of the worst things that we can do in that situation is to attach ourselves to the old, attach ourselves to what can no longer be. And so something more fantastical in this particular deck, I would say, gives you good solid messages, allows you to get into the possibilities of what can be while you are still, mourning, or healing, recovering, regrouping from the previous experience. The imagery in this deck is also, I want to say, quite stark, quite profound. Look at this beautiful Six of Swords. They use a kind of a darker color palette. And within the darker color palette, when they use these pops of color, as in the sky, you really notice it. It creates a mood. It creates an energy. Here we are in the dark. There's a lot of gray, but this feels hopeful. And this is the card of support and grace. So it's like, oh yeah, okay, I am moving on to calmer shores, and there is someone who's willing to help me to do it. And wow, like they've even given me the opportunity to have a shower and to put flowers in my hair after this, harrowing ordeal that I've been through. I'm starting to feel like myself again, or I'm starting to feel human again, or I'm starting to have hope again. So this deck, I love this for this particular phase, that hanged man phase, the pause and breathe, the I don't know what's coming next. I have to wait for a sign or wait for something else to happen before I know that it's time for me to make my move. And this deck really gives you the space to be able to dream, imagine, but also to just kind of heal and recover while still receiving information, still receiving guidance, and to do it, like I said, I sound like a broken record, in such a way that you are not attaching yourself to the old, to the past, to the dead, done, gone, and over with, that you are instead opening yourself. I love this strength card. I love a Black Panther. You're opening yourself to a possibility, and from a subconscious perspective, it does, I want to say, open up new possibilities, because again, this is kind of a fantastical interpretation of life. It's almost like the old, ancient world, old society meets futuristic energy. And, quite frankly, that's exactly what we need and what we're in right now. Especially if you're, watching this I'm recording this in 2025. If you're watching this within the next, 10 years, this is kind of what we're in. We're out with the old and in with the new, and it can be really uncomfortable. Sometimes it is a little dark. It is a little unsure. There are a lot of intense feelings and emotions that we see in the reds and the oranges. So this deck evokes feelings and emotions. And sometimes that's also important too. When we are going through grief, we can go through periods of numbness. And this deck, I feel, makes room for the numbness, but also shakes you out of it with their very intentional chosen use of color, pops of color, to evoke, I want to say, the reconnection to yourself and to source. So yeah, that is the World of Visions Tarot, and definitely a deck that I recommend if you are finding yourself kind of stuck, kind of like, I don't know why I can't seem to move forward, or I have no vision. I'm not sure what's coming next. I just, came out of a situation and now I'm, ready to move on into something else, but I'm not sure what that looks like. The second deck that I chose for this is the Spirit Song Tarot, and this is by Paulina Fay. For those of you who are tarot enthusiasts, I'm sure you are familiar with this particular deck. I believe that a lot of psychics and tarot readers out there make content using this deck. It is a very soft, gentle, easy to receive deck. And I chose that for the Hanged One here because of that very reason. When we are in this state, we can be very tender. We can be hurting. We're tending to our wounds. We are taking stock. It's the calm after the battle. It's the tending to the wounds, dressing the wounds, assessing. It's not the triage. It's now assessing what is left, after the tower's gone down, after the death card has come in and, created this massive change in my life. What now do I need to repair? What self-care do I need to provide to myself? And this deck is very gentle. It's focused on creatures. It's focused on our creature teachers in life. And it has these key words. So it's gentle in its colors. You can see this is a US Games. A little bit larger than standard cardstock US Games. But shuffles really well. It's that same cardstock. The backs are really beautiful. It's reversible. And, neutral. Neutrality here with beauty. We've got the lotus, and the lotus is penciled in or penned in. So there's nothing harsh about this deck, and you'll see here in a second. So Queen of Feathers. Feathers is swords. Perception and truth. We have a bat. 10 of shells. Blessings, well-being. Shells is cups. So we're seeing a pelican here. 7 of feathers, preparation, resourcefulness. So 7 of swords here. And interesting, 7 of swords is a card of integrity, but in this deck, it's talking about strategy, preparation, and being resourceful. And we have a cheetah here. So as you can see, the imagery, the colors are gentle. They're a little more muted or pastel in nature. We often think of babies. We think of newness, new birth. We think of gentle energy when we're thinking pastel colors. For perfect example, here's the Tower card. Everybody's da, 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 the dreaded Tower card. Nothing, dreaded about this. It's a salamander, release and revelation. So when you're using this deck, when you are in that Phoenix growing phase, this is very much a deck where you can receive easily the guidance and the information because it's presented in a gentler way. 9 of acorns, power and perseverance, and it's the panther. Here's the Fool card, the traveler, adventure and potential. 7 of acorns. So acorns here is wands, determination and stamina. So this 7 of wands is usually a card of defense. Yes, we have a badger here. And of course, there was that meme a few years ago about, the badger and, all the things and the stuff. But it's kind of interesting. We have a badger here because the badger is a symbol, a representation of an animal that's going to fiercely protect itself, to protect its young, to protect its family, right? So you can see that the imagery, there's a lot to look at. The imagery is, I would say, busier, gives you a lot that you can kind of lean into, but at the same time, I want to say the focus is simple. It's singular focused. So here we've got, the shells and the dolphins. Here you've got 2 wolves. Here's the raccoon. Yes, there's a lot of stuff around the creature in the environment, but ultimately it's a single creature that is featured. Oops. And, when we are tender, when we are having a difficult time accepting what has transpired, there is that tendency to close down, to shut off, to not feel from an emotional perspective, because you do tend to go numb. This deck, I feel, helps to nurse that tenderness, that newness, that baby kind of energy. The baby is vulnerable. The baby is helpless. Sometimes we feel that way when we're in a Phoenix growing phase. Or even if you're not so tender, but you're in a space of, I'm sick and tired of being stuck. This card encourages self-compassion, self-care, self-love. It says, I understand your frustration, and we're going to give you some messages. We're going to give you some guidance here, but we don't need to hit you over the head with it because we recognize that that's not what you need. The enlightenment is going to come through receiving an understanding or an awareness of why this has happened, why you are saying goodbye to this particular aspect or element or person, in your life. We're going to show you the why, and we're going to give it to you in a very gentle, what's the word I'm looking for? Approachable way, so that you're not feeling anxious or triggered or re-wounded. I love this card, the Awakening. This is a judgment, renewal and enlightenment. And of course, it's a peacock. So I also like this deck because it takes the person, like the human component, out of it. And that also makes it easier too, because most people really do like animals. And so they're going to lean in and they're going to be, oh, that horse is beautiful. Oh, a black bird, right? Oh, I never thought of a black bird when I was thinking about justice. And so I feel like it's, again, if I could choose one word for this deck, it would be gentle. It's a gentle way to feel into that. And when we are going through a Phoenix growing phase, gentle is where it's at. Especially initially after the Phoenix burning, when we're newly in the Phoenix growing phase, we do need, I want to say, a deck that is going to be gentle in its approach, not going to hit us over the head with the messaging, and allow us to recharge, to reflect, to get full awareness and understanding of what has transpired, because that doesn't always happen overnight. That's not always an instantaneous thing when we are in this kind of phase. And sometimes we just need a little bit of time and patience and nurturing in order to be able to get there. The star, peace and healing. And it's the swan. I love the swan. So yeah, that is the second tarot deck that I chose for this Phoenix Growing, and of course that is the Spirit Song Tarot, Paulina Faye. And if you are finding yourself in kind of that stuck mode, it really does give profound readings. I used it one year for like a full year. I was just like all engrossed. This was like the deck that I really leaned into. This was the deck that I kind of started my year off with, and it didn't fail me. It didn't let me down. So it's a great deck for that. And the third one that I chose here is the Healing Spirits Oracle by Gordon Smith, artwork by Naomi Walker. And this is a Hay House Oracle deck. It's something new in my collection. And I want to say to you, I can't believe that I didn't know that this deck existed. Like, I can't believe it took me so long. It just never crossed my path. And I got this in an eBay lot box. So you just kind of take whatever they got, kind of thing, whatever is in the box. Those are the decks that you have to offer. And so I was like, okay, like, I don't, it's a crapshoot. I don't know how this is going to be or not. And I just love it. I love the imagery. I love the messaging. And the reason why I chose this particular deck is because it is about healing. And I love that there's a caduceus right on the back of the cards. They don't show that. Here we have the healing hand. It almost implies like Reiki energy, or like the hand of source coming down to heal the world with that healing spirits. But here we have the caduceus. So like, it couldn't be more obvious. And when you are in a Phoenix growing phase, obvious is something that you really seek, because you're like, I don't know, and I need somebody to kind of tell me or direct me, or I need something to be super obvious so that I don't miss the message, and I want to feel comforted, or I want to understand what is happening. And this is a deck that does it. So here we have inner space and universal knowledge. You can see that it's a bit galactic in nature. And I don't know if you can tell, but if you look long enough at this picture, you will see the face. This is the third eye in the forehead. We've got eyebrows. The stars are making up the eyebrows. The eyes that look a little bit alien-esque. The nose, or it could also be Egyptian. The nose and the mouth. And there's a little bit of shadowing that kind of outlines the chin and the cheekbone area. I think it's just freaking brilliant. I love the colors in this deck. This is my happy place for colors. The color palette, I almost said viscosity. I don't mean viscosity. The saturation of the colors. This is my jam. A spiritual hug. Here we have the womb. This is the perfect card to talk about the Phoenix growing, because in essence, that's what's happening. You are reinventing, rebuilding yourself, but the rebuild hasn't happened yet. This is about the reflection and the gestation of what is transpiring. We don't expect babies in the womb to do all the work. Like, they have an umbilical cord. They get the nutrition that they need. The mother is the one who still has to do the work on the outside, and they just receive. And there's comfort and nurturance in that. It's important. I also like that this deck focuses basically on one color per card, and then builds out the story or the message of the card using the primary focus, that one color. So like, for example, here we've got blue. Blue is the primary color. You've got subtle hints of green here. Success isn't what you have, it's what you do with what you have. Blue is communication. Green is money, abundance, growth. But the focus is on the blue. So how are you communicating your success? How are you expressing your soul journey out into the world? You're using the heart space, but really the essence, I want to say, is in the blue frequency. And blue is the ascension flame, the color of ascension as well. And so I just love all the subtlety that you can pick up when you're working with these cards. Here we have a little heart tree. You have the power to make yourself better. You are your purpose. I love that for so many, and obviously I have a Phoenix journey reading session, a reading experience that I offer to people to help you figure out what your purpose is. But a lot of times what I have learned from, my angels and guides is that we have created, as humans, we have created this need to have a big purpose. We're always in motion. We always have to be moving forward, working towards something in order to feel like we're productive, or in order to feel like we matter, or that we're earning our keep. And that's a very human concept and philosophy, but definitely not one that our angels and guides, command and demand of us. They kind of look at us and say, the purpose is to have as much joy as you can. Like, the purpose is to just create what you want to create, have experiences that you want to have. That's what the whole purpose is. We'll help you with whatever else, whatever kind of spin you want to put on it. We're here for you. But ultimately, like, you don't have to be so driven about what is my purpose. Your purpose can be in your everyday. Just being kind to one person every day might be your soul blueprint purpose. So again, it really ties in with that phoenix growing energy, because oftentimes when we are in this space, we are looking for the, what does it all mean? What is my purpose? I need to have something to focus on, in order to matter and make a difference. And this is a time to receive, to learn that you just being you, even just having positive thoughts about other people makes a difference in out in the world, in those people's lives. We discount that a lot of times. We think that we should be, bigger or better or more, bring, 75,000 things of it, go big or go home. And that's not always what is required. And in the phoenix growing phase, you'll notice, we've all gone through it. If you can relate to, some of the characteristics of it, you'll know those times when you do feel stuck, and it's like, no matter what you do, you're banging your head against the wall and nothing shifts, nothing moves. That's where that radical surrender comes in. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to do anything. This is about divine order and timing right now. So let me just, turn myself upside down and read a book. Let me go out for a walk for a little bit, give it some time, catch up on my reading, my knitting, catch up on the things, that the books on my shelf that, have been there for 2.5 years that I keep looking at and going, oh, if only I had the time or the space or the capacity. This is the time to do that. And this deck, I feel, really gives you that permission. Your path may be bumpy, but this will alter soon. There is so much more to you than you think. It's empowering. The colors are healing. It gives you the opportunity to kind of lean in, and you can even meditate on each of these cards. Heal the past and fix tomorrow. It also gives you things to do, but it's more suggestions rather than you must do this. Don't fear change. Embrace it and grow. Like, it's giving you a clear direction. It's not pulling any punches. It's not, giving it to you with tons of, flowers and frills, but it's easy to implement. You are on the right path. I mean, if you pull that and you're like, okay, I don't know what direction I'm taking. I don't know why this is all happening. Like, is there something I'm supposed to be doing? You're on the right path. Oh, great. So I can just trust that. I love this one, especially because you see this, this one figure who is not following the flow. This one figure is going to kind of take a different path to get where they're going. They're all, taking, I want to say, the loop around, but this one says, oh, I actually see a different way. I see a different approach that I can take. You're on the right path. Do what you need to do. Your soul will find those you are meant to experience life with. Speak your truth with passion. The first step is taken. You have asked for help. You see, it's simple. And when we are in that phoenix growing phase, we do need simple, direct, and clear. And sometimes the message is going to be, you don't need to do anything at all. Just sit and relax. And in a phoenix growing phase, sometimes that can be hard. You're going to be like, no, but I need to move. But this is saying, no, you don't. You're doing, by being and not doing anything, you're doing exactly what you need to do when you're in this phase. Receive. Be open to receiving. Heal your wounds. Do the reflection. Because, as with everything in life, there is going to be a shift and a change eventually. And you want to be able to be prepared to say yes to it and to move forward, in that vein. And if you haven't done the healing work, if you haven't recharged, if you haven't reflected, saying yes to that thing might not go so well. So that is the Healing Spirits Oracle from Gordon Smith. And that is our reading for, decks to help you transform. when you are in that phoenix growing phase. As always, I love sharing this stuff with you guys. Please feel free to put in the comments what you thought about these decks. If you have any questions about, when I talk about the phases of the phoenix, this is this is my brand. This is what I do, is that phoenix energy, helping you through different transitions and transformations. And we can talk about the butterfly, we can talk about the moth, we can talk about the scarab beetle, we can talk about all, the snake. For me, they're all transformational things. For me, it's the phoenix and using that fire to purify. And phoenix growing, that hanged one, woo, it's a tough thing to do, that radical surrender. But when we do it, we really grow, we really move forward. All right, guys, until we see you for another episode of Divinely Decked, as always, sending you so much love and support. We will see you on the flip side, and transform well. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. It was great to connect with you guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment for more content like this. And feel free to follow me on Blue Sky for even more content every single day. Can't wait to see you guys next week for another installment of Black Feather Couture, Divining the VIP Life.